What's going on, everybody? And today I'm going to talk about the 5 layers of bodybuilding. And bodybuilding, or in general, fitness training, will be composed of 5 different layers. Number one is the layer of nutrition. And this is a very crucial and important layer, because this is basically the layer that will enable you to achieve anything and everything else in your fitness goals or bodybuilding goals, and even strength goals for people that are training for strength, by the manipulation of the macros and the micros. The macros basically would be the carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. The micros would be the vitamins, minerals, and water, and these can be measured in milligrams, micrograms, sometimes international units. But keeping track on the macros on the micros is one of the most crucial aspects of fitness, but especially bodybuilding. And if anybody's familiar with bodybuilding, you know that bodybuilders very heavily manipulate carbohydrate intake and sodium intake, as well as sometimes potassium intake, so they can manipulate the look that they basically have on stage. So manipulating these minerals and the macronutrients, like specifically the carbohydrates, can be the key to achieving a specific look on the stage. And this is a very huge aspect of bodybuilding. Number two is training. And training has so many different goals, and different sports and different people train for different things. When we talk about bodybuilding, we specifically are talking about hypertrophy training, which is basically the training with the goal of increasing the muscle size of the in the human body. Now, with that increase in muscle size, there's always a ratio of increase in strength. But I think everybody knows that bodybuilders are not usually the strongest people when it comes to actually the strength, the weights and of the lift. So you have a different type, almost a different sport, that is powerlifting, and those people usually lift way heavier weights than bodybuilders. So there is an aspect of, for your muscles to grow bigger, you have to grow stronger, and your lifts have to be more. But this would be a very simplistic way to basically imagine things, because if that was the case, then power lifters would have sometimes bigger size of muscles than bodybuilders. And I think this is maybe something that needs to be studied more, and maybe we'll get into that in different videos, and the relationship or the ratio between hypertrophy training, or the increase in muscle size, and the increase in muscle strength. And plus that there are so many different variables that could contribute to this exact thing, which is this central nervous system. How much are you able to recruit in other aspects, not just the muscle, which can basically dictate how much weight a person is able to lift. And hypertrophy training basically would be classified into microfibrillar training and sarcoplasmic training. And basically, the difference between these two types of training is that the first one would be when you train really heavy weights and you exhaust the muscle and you cause tears to the muscle fibers, so that the body has to rebuild, and it has to grow these muscles bigger and stronger, so it can basically deal with the stress, the continuous stress that you put on the muscles. Sarcoplasmic the type of sarcoplasmic type of hypertrophy, that would be basically when you just, what we call a pump. Basically, when you pump your muscles with a lot of fluid, whether through light weight and a lot of reps, and you push a lot of fluid and blood into the muscle. That may not cause as much increase in size as the first type of training, but it causes what we call a pump, which is, you get your muscles full of blood, and this is basically what a lot of bodybuilders do before they get on stage and before they are about to hit the show and stand in front of the judges. The third aspect is recovery, and recovery is something that includes so many things, but one of the most important aspects of recovery would be sleep, of course. And sleep is a very, very crucial aspect of any sport, of recovery in any sport, but in specifically bodybuilding, because the body really grows and recovers and builds in that phase of recovery, and usually in a phase of sleep. But recovery is an expansive layer that can include so many things, like sleep is one of them, but also massage to the muscle, specific types of stretches that would aid in the recovery of the muscles, and this would also be crossed with a lot of other layers that we're going to include later that would also contribute and aid in that recovery. The fourth would be supplementation. And by supplementation, we mean things like creatine, protein powder, amino acids, anything usually that you can get over the counter that would supplement your normal basic 3 layers, which is the nutrition, training, and recovery. And what we'll find is that in that bodybuilding or fitness matrix, you'll find that sometimes these things cross, so they fall in the same thing. So some of the supplements that you might take, they will also at the same time aid in recovery. So they basically are checked in both categories of supplementation and recovery. So many supplements that you can take would aid in the recovery of the muscles. Branched chain amino acids will be one of them. One thing that would aid you to maybe put out more volume in the gym would be something like creatine, and so many other supplements. Citrulline, malate. Citrulline could aid in the blood flow, pushing more blood to the muscle, and so on and so forth. Every one of those layers, we may dedicate a specific episode about them and delve into all types of different supplements and their different functions in a separate video. Now, the fifth is PEDs, or how I like to call them, PECs, performance enhancing compounds. And there we get into things like anabolics, peptides, SARMs, mimics, insulin, all these different things, growth hormone, all the things that are most of the time, usually in some countries they would be you're not going to be able to obtain them over the counter. In some countries you may obtain these things over the counter in a pharmacy, like in some like in Mexico, where you can get some types of anabolics in a pharmacy, but in some other countries these things would be controlled substances, and if you get them, you have to find some way of getting them. And these things basically are the fifth layer, the top layer of the bodybuilding layers. And usually these things are for someone who are basically mastered the first 4 layers and have been doing the first 4 layers for a very long time and achieved close to their genetic limit with the first 4 layers. So they would add that 5th layer to even go more and push further with their bodybuilding or fitness goals. And it is not really advisable for someone to skip fully maximizing the first 4 layers and go into the 5th layer and just jump straight to PEDs without fully exploring and fully maximizing themselves in the first 4 layers. And there are so many reasons for that. Some of them are biological reasons that have to do with the timing and the development of the human body. But you really shouldn't get to a more advanced stage before you have fully maximized and reached your full potential with the first 4 stages. And many of the successful bodybuilders, they have been through these layers in order, And in a next video, we're gonna basically explore each layer of those layers and make tables categorizing all these different layers in specifics, and talk about them and talk about their functions. I'm going to introduce what I call the bodybuilding matrix, which basically lists or categorizes all these different layers in sort of like a matrix or a table that show how these different functions of these different layers of bodybuilding can cross, so that maybe you can, for example, you can be taking a supplement that can be beneficial for pushing blood to the muscle, but at the same time it can be beneficial for something like recovery. So that system I find to be very helpful in organizing and in systemizing and almost turning into a mathematical formula the bodybuilding world by categorizing bodybuilding into these 5 layers, and then categorizing these layers into sub layers that are able to be plugged into whatever mathematical formula that eventually can be used to derive accurate data about the bodybuilding process, so that people are able to get better results and quantify what they're doing. With that being said, follow if you need more info about how to turn yourself into the perfect version of yourself, not just in the aspect of bodybuilding, but in cognitive enhancement, energy levels, boosting your performance in every aspect of human life.